So I did some cleanup on the engine bay. Got the block ready to basically receive the new top end when everything comes in and is ready to go. But in the meantime, since I have the head off, I am going to upgrade, or at least I think I'm going to upgrade the radiator. So this is the original radiator, and it's pretty beat. I purchased an aluminum radiator, one of the kind of cheap import aluminum radiators on eBay, and I am going to try to install that, see how it fits, see if it fits in the OEM location, see if the hoses hook up properly, and then see how it performs. Pretty sure the removal is pretty simple. There's 2 bolts, I think they're like 14s, right here at the top. That's one. Kind of has like a little rubber grommet bushing with it. I believe that's it. We have the connector, the electrical connectors, but I think you just pick up on it. Remember, I disconnected the hoses when I drained the coolant out. So what we have here are 2 leads. That have an electrical connector here. So I just undid those. That's that little connector. And then there's 2 little connectors that go to the temperature sensor at the bottom of the radiator. Let me get this overflow hose out of, the overflow is clamped here. Oh, it's routed all the way over there. That's the overflow. And then we can pick up and undo these 2 connectors. Delicious. So with the radiator out, I'm going to clean up in here, obviously. Get this whole area nice and clean. And then we'll install the aluminum one and see how it fits. Okay, so I just unpacked my aluminum radiator and I freaked out a little bit because what do you notice? Here's the one I just pulled out. Here's the aluminum unit, and you can actually see it's much narrower, or slightly narrower. If I put it end to end, you can see the difference here. The mounting locations are in the right spot, it's just narrower. And by the way, here's on the original radiator, you can see that's not good. All right. So I got a little worried thinking I got the wrong part. And then I started doing some research, looking at photos of engine bays online for 128s, and I noticed that they came with 2 different width radiators. And this radiator, when it was in the car, basically went from this mounting hole here, so right basically next to the headlight, and it went past the center point to that mounting location there. And if you look, you can see, you know, the radiator went from here, again, past the center point to here. And then there's a bunch of engine bays I saw online where you could clearly see that the radiator ends before the center hood like retainer clip here, bracket. So it ends right about here at the center. So obviously these cars came with two different width radiators, and I don't know which ones came with what. I don't know if the American models came with the wider radiator. But one thing I was worried about is, all right, there's the mounting hole in the mounting hole. And I was thinking, all right, do I got to weld some sort of tab here to make a mounting hole for the narrower radiator? Because I'm going to align, well, I have no choice because the headlight's here and the radiator kind of comes up against it. But what I'm noticing with the aluminum unit, everything else still lines up, the hoses and everything. But then, to my surprise, the other mounting hole is there as well, which is out of focus. So this is the one it was mounted to. This hole is in fact here. So I think I'm okay to mount the narrower aluminum unit in those OEM locations. What I'm going to do is just quickly mount up the thermostat I have to the side of the head, and I put the head on for this purpose. Mount thermostat. That way when I mount the radiator, I can make sure all the hoses align. And I don't think I'm going to have an issue because if you actually look, it's kind of interesting. The narrower radiators, even the OEM one, the top outlet is straight. On the longer radiator, the wider one, if you look, it's cantered. So I think it's to make up for that extra distance to get the hose there to it. So I'm going to try to get this in. The one other tricky part is I'm going to have to make the fans fit, right? This bracket here is wider. So I may have to drill holes here and here to mount it on the narrower radiator. And then maybe I'll just bend over the piece that's left or just cut it off. But I'm expecting these sides to mount properly, and I'm going to clean this up and paint the black. The other thing is the radiator is a little thicker, so I kind of have to just stretch out the little on the bottom of the radiator support. There's a little bracket that the like kind of U-shaped bracket with a piece of rubber that the radiator sits in, so I just have to like stretch that out a little to make sure it accommodates the wider radiator. So the big question will be whether or not the hood clears the cap. We will see. Got the radiator mounted. I'm gonna just check the hose. I'm gonna mock up the thermostat and check the hose alignment and everything. There's one of these bolts. Okay, we're getting there. Here's the OEM fan assembly. I'm gonna obviously take this fan out, clean it up, paint the black, get it looking good. But what I'm seeing is I can mount it using 3 of the mounting points. So obviously here on this tab, that tab down there lines up. I'm gonna make a hole here and mount it on this tab, and that just leaves this the lower tab down here not lining up with that mounting point. But I might actually be able to bend, the leg is long enough, I might be able to bend it over and make it reach that final mounting tab. But I think with 3, it would be fine. One thing you might be noticing is how close the engine is right now. The engine's actually leaning way forward. When this mount is bolted to the top of the cam box, the engine's actually going to sit much further in that way. You know, it's just going to be rough mocked in because I'm checking for clearances and everything. But I think, you know, if you really need a radiator, just check if you have the narrow, if your OEM radiator ends around the center of the radiator support, or if it extends further. If it's the shorter style radiator, then your fan and everything should swap right over to it. If you have the longer one, your car still has the mounting provision for the shorter radiator, but you're gonna have to play with the fan a little bit to get it to mount. I'm also considering just going to an aftermarket electric fan. I'm going to do a little research as to how much airflow this produces and see if the aftermarket units are comparable or better, which I suspect they will be, based on this is just a little 4-bladed unit here. The radiator is mocked up. I have a couple little things I have to put in the temperature sensor in the bottom. Again, get the fan all finalized. Seal the actual thermostat to the head. And then cam box goes in, timing belt goes back on, intake, exhaust manifolds, and we could restart it. So if you like this video, please click below. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you soon.
you.